Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today, spring is officially here. So I can now officially say spring here in North Carolina. So we are going to do a very early spring garden tour here at the Proven Winners Signature Garden. So remember, this garden is not even a year old. It may be 6 months old. I don't even know what the calendar is. So we're gonna walk through and I'm going to kind of give you an update on how everything looks here in the garden. And then of course, we're gonna talk about the fun things that we are going to plant in the spring and the summer for the gorgeous display. Now, the Proven Winners Signature Garden is free and open to the public when the nursery is open. So when we are open on Wednesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 3, we would love for you to come and just walk through. It is a great space to walk through. The grass is gorgeous. Yes, you can absolutely walk on the grass, and we would love for you just to come and explore. Look at the plants, look at everything, see how the garden is progressing as we go through the seasons, the year. Everything will be labeled, so all the plants have that are in there will have labels on them. So if you really see a plant that you love, then you of course can then come to the nursery and look for that plant. Here in the front, we have these two raised beds that are planted the exact same. Here first in the early spring, late winter, we had the Super Collider blend of tulips. This is from Color Blends. It is a blend that they put together, so there are a double yellow and then the beautiful red and that deep, deep purple. So they are in there. It is a cloudy morning, so they are still nice and closed, and some of them haven't even opened up yet at all. So this has been fun to watch them kind of develop. This summer, once the tulips are done, then we're going to come in here and do a mass planting of the annual of the year from Proven Winners, the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. So this whole block, from the Sprinter Boxwoods to the rocks, is going to be nothing but jazzberry on both sides. It will make a beautiful impact here as you enter into the gardens. Speaking of the Sprinter Boxwoods, we do have on each side a row of the Sprinter Boxwoods. When we planted these, the plan is that as these grow and develop, we will prune them so that it will become a solid hedge. We want to have a little bit of a small wall so that you are interested and you can see beyond, but you can't see everything. We're trying to create some intriguement, is that a word, and some interest here. People were asking about their Sprinter Boxwoods that they were turning like a little coppery brown color in this wintertime. Completely natural. That is what the boxwoods do. You can see some of mine still have it, even this, but you can also see all of this brand new growth right here. As soon as you get into warmer, longer days, that copper color will turn back green. It's not dead, it is simply changing colors. And then we come through here, we have a whole line of the little lime punch hydrangeas. We planned this so that the hydrangeas too will be a hedge, just a massive wall of this gorgeous hydrangea. I adore this plant. It is already putting on some little buds of growth, so that's really fun. At maturity for the sprinters and the hydrangeas, these will kiss each other. So they're just gonna kind of touch each other. So that's why we have that kind of that big open space right here, because the hydrangeas will get 4 to 5 tall and wide at maturity. The boxwoods will keep in that 2 to 3 foot tall and wide. So again, they'll just kiss. In the meantime, what am I going to do to kind of fill in this gap? We're going to use some Angelonia. We're going to use this year the Angel Face Wedgwood Blue. So it's more of a narrow upright, and I'm going to do a solid line all the way down. It's a kind of has a creamy white and a nice light blue in it together. Bicolor flower, upright, continuous bloomer. So boom, boom, it is going to be gorgeous. Then down the front, we have a lot of open room right here. This is where I'm going to have so much fun doing a mixed planting of annuals. And when I say mixed planting, basically I am going to come up with a pattern. It's probably going to be around like 7 or 9 plants, and I'm going to have a pattern, and I'm just going to repeat that block all the way down. So we have a continuous display of that same pattern all the way through here. I'm going to have caladiums, I'm going to have coleus, I'm going to have sweet potato vine, I'm going to have probably ageratums, you name it, it is going to be in here. It's going to be gorgeous. I don't know exactly the plants yet. That's to be determined. We'll figure that out. People always ask about our grass and what kind of grass this is. Remember, you saw us put down this sod. This is an elite fescue blend. Here in North Carolina, we can do either cool weather grass, fescue, or we can do a hot weather grass. Jerry and I personally just prefer fescue because it is gorgeous and has color throughout the year. And this stuff is lush and thick. It is like carpet. But yes, we want you to come walk on it and enjoy it. Now, let's hit the fountain first because the fountain is the center point of this garden. So when you come in, you have this beautiful fountain from our friends at Unique Stone. It is not up and running yet because we are still in that weird zone of freezing temperatures. Like we've had 31, 32. We are going down to we had 28, 29. So that's why it's not running, is because we don't want to fill it and then have to drain it because of freezing temperatures. Trust me, we are very anxious to get it running as well. We're just not trying to create too much work on our hands. Here we have violas paired with the Miss Confection tulip blend, again from our friends at Color Blends. The Miss Confection is throughout the garden. These were the very first ones to bloom because they get that full hot sun. So some of these are done, where in the back they're in their prime. What we're going to do here is a beautiful mass planting of the brand new Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid, which is a nice raspberry color, and then it has a thick wide white band around it. So nothing but that Hoopla Vivid Orchid will be in the fountain. Then we kind of step back, and there are 4 flower beds closest to the fountain that will be annual flower beds. They currently have pansies, violas, and then the tulips in here. This is where I'm going to plant nothing but annuals. Exactly how I'm going to do it, I'm figuring that out. I have some ideas. I'm not completely sold on one idea, but my goal is to create a cohesive garden so it all flows together while giving you a great diversity of plants that you can look at and enjoy. So I know that's going to be happening here. Where the tulips are, we're doing a mass planting of caladiums. On all 4 of behind the benches will be that same caladium. I'm thinking about, I have 2, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the Heart and Soul. Heart and Soul has some pinks, some greens, and some whites in it. So that's going to be a really fun one to do. I also have White Star, which is more of a predominantly all white with some green. But I think Heart and Soul is going to be the best pairing for the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid. So that's the plan on the 4 inner beds. Now we're going to go through each of the 4 outer beds because this is where the perennials and the shrubs are. We have some absolute successes, and we have some that are like, uh-oh, you did not survive the winter. So we're very open and honest about our messes and successes here. So one of the ones that was on the struggle bus for sure in all 4 beds was the dianthus. This is the funky fuchsia, and I lost a good number of them. So I have 3 on each corner, and like I've already lost, like I lost 1 here, right? And these other 2 just look kind of like so-so, right? They're not glorious. Now it could be the time of planting because we planted them late in this season, or it could be the plant, it could be the location, who knows, right? That's gardening. So we're gonna fix this. I just have to figure out exactly what I wanna put in there. Now, a success is the Perfecto Mundo. This is the orange azalea. Already here in the middle of March in North Carolina, I have got new growth on my azaleas, and I have got buds. So these plants are nice and quite happy. Now, I personally was a little worried about planting the azaleas so late in the season when we did, because azaleas, of course, are warm weather plants. And I didn't know if we were gonna have enough time for the roots to get established before the cold of the winter hit. Clearly, they did fine because all 3 of these right here are covered in new growth and buds. So we're really pleased with how that is doing. I'll tiptoe this way since Jerry's coming in. In each of the beds, we have the Boom Chocolata geranium. So it's a nice dark foliage. There's 3 in each bed. They're placed differently in the beds, but they are all coming back. So it's still small. This is going to be a mounded habit, and then when it blooms, it'll be tall. Really fun plant, easy, low maintenance for sure. We've got my Tuscan Gold Heliopsis. I was a little worried about this one too because Heliopsis likes it hot, but look at all this beautiful new growth right here. See all of that? I mean, and y'all, we planted this in, what was it, November? October, November? I mean, it was later. And so this is doing really, really well. I have a Baptisia. This particular one is the Vanilla Cream. Baptisias, there are so many different varieties from proven winners, and they bloom at different times. Now, I can just barely see a couple of little eyes popping up right here out of this Baptisia. Typically, Baptisias are going to come up later. So if you're not seeing growth on your Baptisia, don't worry, don't freak out. Just wait. If you want to go in there and just gently scratch the surface, you might see eyes popping up like you would a hosta. So she's alive, she's fine, she's doing well. Let's see, we'll go this way. It's very hard to focus because there's so many plants and you're like, what direction do I go in? We have Monarda. Look at that, beautiful Monarda. This is the Leading Lady Raspberry, one of my personal favorites. There's 4 of those in there. They're doing just fine. Your hibiscus. Each flower bed has a summerific hibiscus in it. Y'all, you're not going to see any signs of life from your summerifics until it gets consistently hot. All you're going to have is stalks. If you have not cut back your summerific hibiscus, you need to go ahead and do that, right? So you're just going to cut it straight to the ground because all your new growth is coming from the root. It is not coming from your old stems. So hang on to those, they'll be just fine. Another plant that I was slightly, I say worried about, again because of the late planting and it being a hot plant, was the Indian Hawthorn. They are doing just fine. This is Lavina moss. In fact, we have new growth. We have new growth. Look at this, new growth popping up. I want to even say there's some flower buds. So these are, while the foliage, there's definitely some damage to the foliage. Y'all, that's okay. I'm not worried about that because when the heat hits, this plant is going to explode in new growth. We're going to feed it with some fertilizer, some slow release fertilizer, and they're going to take off and doing great. I see new growth, they're fine. Another fun little, Jerry actually was, when he was filming just now, he discovered this beautiful little Amsonia. You might start to see your Amsonias pop up. This is Storm Cloud. And I know it's Storm Cloud because it has such dark stems as it's coming up. So in here, in all 4 beds, I have Storm Cloud and I have String Theory. These are beautiful, easy, low maintenance, native perennials that do true blue flowers, easiest plant ever, and early spring color. So we have those. The phlox, look at these guys. Oh, they're so happy. So this particular one is the prismatic pink phlox. These are going to be the paniculatas, where they get nice and tall and those big, huge cones of flowers. So nice big pop of pink here. The daylilies, loving life. They're doing great. Just hang on, just wait on those, right? This is the Sunjoy Citrus Barberry. It's popping out in all new growth. Great. If you haven't pruned your barberries, you can go ahead and do that. Like right here, you can see like these tall stalks right here. Just go in there and give it a little flat top because you've got all this new growth. And then of course you want to encourage a nice tight habit on that. So there you go on that. The Serendipity alliums, how happy are they? I mean, I'm glad they flower, but even if they didn't, it would be a really fun foliage. Serendipity alliums, of course, are going to have those nice purple ball flowers that stick up, deer resistant, rabbit resistant, because alliums are onions. So this is a really fun one. When this is in bloom, this is going to be a gorgeous mass planting. mass pop of color that your pollinators go nuts over this plant. They absolutely love it. Okay, so to give you an idea, come down over here. So we talked about storm cloud Amsonia. Here we have string theory. So when you're a gardener, you have to do a little detective work, my friends. So you can see right here, we have the stems. And I don't know if the camera will show this, but if you get in there and just pull back just a little bit, you can see, get the pine needle out of the way, some little bud swells right here. So this plant is alive. It is going to be very, very happy, but it's just not ready yet. It's not ready to pop out as much out of the ground as your storm cloud. So she's happy. We're just gonna put that soil back right there for her, and then there you go. So that's bed number 1. 3 more to go. Now there are plants that are repeated through the beds. We have the, and I forgot to mention it over there, we have the cat's meow nepeta. Instead of cat's pajamas, this is meow. It's gonna be a little bit taller. So on all 4 corners of the beds, on the outer corners, they have the cat's meow nepeta. So we've got that is doing quite nicely. We've got banana cream Shasta daisies right through here. They've got some nice new growth on them. Some look a little bit smaller, so we'll just kind of watch them, see how they do on that. Look at the phlox. So this is one of, I got a tag over here, the opening act romance. So we've got 3 of them right here. Very happy, right? Nice, beautiful growth on this. And this is what I would call the mid-bloomer. So the earliest phlox is that woodland phlox that's really low to the ground. That's blooming right now. Next, you'll have the opening act series that blooms. And then last, you'll have that, the luminary series that I was just showing you, those paniculatas, they will bloom. Now, this is exciting because in North Carolina, we struggle really badly with lilacs because it is so hot and humid. This is a new one from Proven Winners. This is Per Pink. Look at this. I'm gonna let Jerry get in here and show you. One, we've got beautiful growth, and look at all those flower buds. Just so many flower buds on here. Now, because we do struggle, I left this completely alone because I did not, you don't want to prune lilacs until it's the appropriate time. But as it's flushing out, you'll know if you have a live foliage or dead foliage. So after it, much like a macrophylla hydrangea, if you want to come in here and clean it up, you can. But there's 2. There's one here, and then there's one right there. They're both covered in new growth and buds. So yay. Now we just got to get them to make it through this summer. But I put them here because this gets the shade earlier in the day, because in the summertime, of course, all the trees are leafed out, and so this gets shade, so they'll get a protection from the sun. Yin and Yang, they were struggling in the winter time, but they too are putting on new growth. They have their flower buds on them. Love this evergreen viburnum. It is great. Let's see what's new, what's different in here. Oh, the coralberry. Yeah, so this is Proudberry coralberry. Another test, I was really pushing my limits on these guys because both the lilacs and the Proudberry, the coralberry, could be iffy for us. They have growth all over them. So yay. My favorite salvia, this is the Profusion Pink. This too is in all the beds. So we have those coming back quite nicely. And then look at this yarrow. Look how lovely and lush this is. This is the Firefly Diamond. Firefly is the series. Diamond is white. So this is going to be a beautiful white yarrow. Nice. You can see a beautiful little string of it right here. My Laura Petalum. This is kind of goes in those same lines as the my hot weather stuff. Struggle bus for sure. We're going to see what happens once the heat hits. Hopefully it will flush out. If it can make it through the first winter, then we're good. That first winter for the Laura Petalum is the toughest. And then y'all, look at the candy corn. Is it not just spectacular? Beautiful foliage on this thing. I mean, it is stunning. And then putting that Boom Chocolata in front of it is a really fun color difference, right? You have the dark, low mounded. When it blooms, it'll be that upright with that kind of that bluey purple flower. Then you have the candy corn spirea, It'll have like kind of a pink raspberry bloom on it. Really, really fun. And very happy with how my silver lining Artemisia is doing. Just a beautiful habit on this. Is going to spread, but it doesn't root as it spreads. So it's not invasive or a pest. And then at the end of the season, it's really easy to trim back. So I think that's everything in that bed. So let's come down while we're going past these two beds. So here in the back, we have two beds that will always be planted the same. Right now, of course, they have the Miss Confection in here, just looking spectacular. I also have weeds in here, so we've got a little bit of work to do as far as coming in and pulling weeds. People ask, how do you maintain your beds? These two tools on the end of your arms. We hand pull all the weeds in our flower beds. And then we have the Glitters and Glows viburnum going straight down. No signs really, well, yep, there is. A little bit of signs of life on the viburnums. And then this summer, what I'll do is I will do a mass planting probably of the same annual in this bed to be kind of low underneath the viburnums. So we're enjoying the tulips right now for sure. This bed, very similar, right? So we had, and also in the corner of that bed, I lost all three of my dianthus. I've lost 1.5, one for sure, and half of another. So we're gonna have to reconfigure this. Boom chocolatas, again, they're in all four beds, but they're placed differently. And then here we have the, this is the double play doozy spirea. So we had candy corn, and here we have doozy. Same type of plant, same habit, but they look very different. Doozy is a darker foliage to it. Beautiful flowers, raspberry, repeat bloomers. It is sterile. This is what we have at our house by the back patio, and adore this plant. Now, we were talking about baptisias and them blooming at different times. Here I have pink lemonade, and look, y'all, not only is it already starting to sprout, but we have a couple of little leaves right here. So it all is going to depend on the variety, the cultivar of the plant, and so just be on the lookout for that. This is the pink clematis, so this is going to be really fun. That one's doing well. See, now this loropetalum is hanging in here. This is the Jazz Hands Bold. In fact, it did have some damage, right? Because we have got leaves that got burnt in the cold damage, but look what else it's doing though. It's blooming. So the loropetalum is also called a Chinese fringe flower because of these really pretty little fringy flowers. So doing quite nicely. More daylilies. Look at the abelias. Come down here. This is the Tres Amigos abelia, and look at all this new growth. These are very happy plants. This is a great evergreen, nice mounded habit, and when they reach maturity, they're going to grow together. But we've got tons of new growth on this. If you haven't trimmed your abelias, it'd be a great time to do it. They need it. Another storm cloud, another phlox. This is that same opening act. Let's see, what else is coming in here? Now, to see the difference between those firefly achilleas, this one is the firefly sunshine, which is a yellow. So you can see it's not as aggressive and ahead of schedule like the diamond. So just like in your baptisias, you're going to have different growths within the series. Same thing with this guy. We've got some growth on our hydrangea. This is the Quickfire Fab. The more salvias. Yeah, everything's doing great. So everything's waking up. I would say really the only quote problem that we had was the dianthus. That was the only one. Everything else though is really doing great because, again, repeating, the nepidas, the salvias. We have a different paniculata, panicle phlox, panicle hydrangea, I can't even talk, y'all, in each bed. So this is the Limelight Prime, putting on, has some buds right there. We have the Amsonias in all of them. Now we have another achillea. This is the Firefly Peach Sky. See how nice and great this one's doing? So we're really happy. Repeated that Indian Hawthorn. Gardenias. This is the Pillow Talk and doing quite nicely, especially coming out of winter. Very happy with how it looks. And then more Monarda in here. This is a different Monarda. This is the upscale red velvet. And phloxes are coming up. We have a different Perfecto Mundo azalea right here, tipping toe to make sure I don't hit anything. This was the double pink. It took a bit of a more of a hit than the orange. So you can see in here, we had some freeze damage in the center of it, but again, we've got new growth and I've got buds. So if you can get your, especially for us in the South, when you're planting warm weather plants in the fall, the key is to get them established before the real cold hits. If you can get them through their first winter, then they're gonna be fine. But if they don't make it, then we wanna try planting them maybe going into the summer instead of going into the winter. But sometimes you just have to do what you got to do, right? All right, so those are the beds. Again, everything is doing really nicely with the exception of that one dianthus that's repeated in all four. I'm just going to switch it out for a different dianthus, right? So we're going to do that. Now, before we leave, I want to go over to Jane Magnolia, because Jane is just looking so lovely right now. We do have plans to develop gardens around the pond. It probably will not happen. I think the earliest it would happen would be this fall, because we need to rework some things like structurally within the pond. This pond is spring fed. There is a spring that is underneath the holly tree. So this pond maintains this level all the time. It's a clay bottom pond and it maintains this level and then it drains. So we want to dress it up and then develop beds around it. We have a rising sun red bud right here that is getting ready to pop out in all of her beautiful glory. So we've got that, but then we do have Jane. Now, Jane Magnolia is part of what they call the Little Girl series of magnolias. So there's Jane, there's Anne, there's Lois, and there may be one or two more. This one's been in the ground probably 4 years, I would say, 3 years. This is going into its 4th year. But just, come here, gotta get in here. Get up close and personal. You can see, of course, there's different, you know, some have aged and some are newer. We've still got buds in here. But this is that tulip magnolia that it is deciduous, but it is flowering. You're driving around town, you see them. They're beautiful. A multi-trunked tree, small, like large shrub, small tree, however you want to look at it. But it's so fun and she makes such a beautiful impact. I'm so glad that however many years it was ago that I decided to put her here, not knowing that we were going to have a signature garden right there, but it definitely this time of year draws your eye right here and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Update on the grass. Remember, the boys came in here and seeded with rye grass. Now this is a cool weather annual grass. It will not survive the summer, but for the wedding, we need it green. So we're like, grow grass, grow. Because Alyssa is getting married, the ceremony will be here. We've got some more work to do, but that's all right because at least the grass is growing. It will be gorgeous by the end of May. That's all we're gonna say about that. Now, talking about weeds, messes and successes, my friends. We have got a ton of weeds in this area. This was a brand new bed, and with that comes weeds because you're moving soil. There was weed seeds in the soil because all the soil came from here. So we have got a bit of a mess right here that we have got to get in here and get cleaned up. But I just want to show you that even we have to deal with weeds. There's basically 2 ways that I would say that you can deal with weeds. 1, you can hand pull, or 2, you can spray. We always hand pull when they're in the flower beds. However, when it's this massive number of weeds and the plants are still relatively small, you could come in here and spray with it, whatever your herbicide of choice is, and kill the weeds and then hand pull up close to the plants. But we definitely have to get in and attack this sooner than later before it really gets out of control. The ginkgo tree is showing some beautiful signs of life. This is at Princeton Century. Great for fall color, but everything is coming along quite nicely, waking up. I mean, if the weeds are successful, then we know it's a semi-hospitable environment. And yeah, so this year, while we're waiting on the shrubs and the perennials to really grow and develop, eventually I'm sure that this season we will plant annuals in here. One, we have the wedding, and two, because we planted this for maturity. So when these trees and shrubs and perennials are at maturity, it's going to be really thick through here. But that's the great thing about annuals, is that you can use them for temporary fillers in here to give you interest. And then of course, we're not going to walk back there, but back there in the back, remember we did the North Poles, the Incrediballs, and the Limelights. They're awake, they're sticks. You just can't really see them right now. And we're going to again fill in with annuals in that area, big, bold annuals, so that can get a lot of attention back there. But the garden is coming along. It is fun and exciting to watch it grow and develop and just see, you know, this whole garden come to life. The first year, I would say even the first year or two of a brand new space, you're learning how that space grows. So we're still very much in that learning stage of how do plants react, what is the soil like, how does the water flow, really what is the sun like, and just trying to figure out where to put the correct plants, right? Because there's not any bad plants, it's just bad plant placement. So we have to figure that out, and it's going to be a fun adventure for sure in this signature gardener. But we would love for you to come see us Wednesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 3, free and open to the public. As always, we hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.